Arriving here in Jersey, fighting villains from afar. You gotta find first gear in your giant robot car. You dig giant robots, I dig giant robots, we dig giant robots, just dig giant robots. Nice.
Hello and welcome to the Anime Boomer Podcast. This is episode number 5. Got it right this time, didn't mess up like I did last time. This episode is all about the Rebuild of Evangelion movies. And I have with me today, of course, Spooky Weeb Trash, longtime co-host. She's the other half of the Anime Boomer Podcast. But I've got some special guests with me today that are also interested in the strange world of Evangelion. First, I'd like to introduce the Kino Corner. How are you doing, buddy?
Hey, what's going on? I'm just here to, get my weeb card.
And joining us as well is a guy that most of you are familiar with if you watch my content, if you've seen my stuff in the past, if you watch me on the Kill Stream, and that would be the one and only Flamenco. How are you doing, Flamenco?
I'm exhausted. Hi.
Me too. I had a test at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's been a wild ride, but I did finish the last movie finally today so that we could have this episode so that we could talk about the rebuild movies of Evangelion.
We're old. We
Yes,
need our
we're-
naps.
That is true. Actually, I took a nap, like a 2-hour nap just before hopping on here, so I'm a little more rested than I would have been otherwise.
I have an idea before we get into anything. I think we need to all go for a 2-hour nap and just keep it recording, and people can nap with us. So just we'll come back in 2 hours and just be a little bit of silence, a 2-hour silence until then.
That sounds like a weird ASMR thing. Come nap with me, ASMR trend.
Or something like Reactor would do in his videos. Just have like a black screen for 15 minutes.
That just sounds like art.
Don't even
Not to deter it. Yeah.
Would it be the loudest snorer, though? That's the question. Who snores?
I don't snore. I'm a calm sleeper.
I don't snore either.
I
just
sound like a
scream.
trash compactor.
I just scream, right? From my nightmares. I scream as I wet my bed.
Because you're a psychopath. You scream and you wet your bread and then you set stuff on fire and torture animals.
Yeah. But I don't snore. So at least I got that going for me.
Well, there you go. I want to preface this. I want to preface this by saying that if you have not watched the rebuild movies of Evangelion, I would strongly recommend you pause it here and watch all 6 hours of the movies and then come back and listen to this, because we're going to be no holds barred spoilers for not only the movies, but some of the original series, Death and Rebirth, End of Evangelion. So if you don't want to be spoiled on all of those things, I would strongly recommend you watch all of those things and then come back and listen to this podcast.
And also probably the wiki articles on original Gainax staff member minutes, because a lot of this shit gets never brought up in the show, but is apparently canon.
Just
Right.
look up Hideki Anno's personal diary, too. This is also canon. So we'll get more into
And
details
also
about
watch
that.
past the third film, because trust me, it gets a lot better. Holy shit.
Mhm.
Yeah, the third film. Oh my gosh, the third film is just homosexual gay fan fiction.
The third film
Great
gets
Fujo
saved
bait.
by the third film gets saved by the fourth film, I'd say.
Well, I would say the third film gets saved by Eye Patch Asuka, which is definitely a step up from normal Asuka. Makes her more of a best girl.
He looks like a pirate.
Well,
She does kind of look
obviously-
like a space pirate.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm into people with eye patches. If you just look at my profile picture, I feel one with Asuka when she has that eye patch, and I guess it's because it makes sense later on in 3+1. But to talk about to talk about the third film, because obviously that's the most controversial one. That's the one that we're just jumping into, because what is there to talk about the first one other than, it's a recap of like what the first 6 episodes or something from the series, like
a few minor differences that later get explained, but the first film is basically just a scaled up, much better production value version of the first couple of episodes. It ends, I believe, with the sniper attack on the cube angel.
And it ends right before Asuka gets introduced into the show.
And that's when the deviations like really go off the go off the rails, because the angels themselves are different. It's some of them anyway. Some of them are the same angels, but like instead of like a giant sea monster when Asuka gets introduced and they destroy like half the Japanese naval fleet, she fights like some sort of geometric shape that looks really fucking weird.
Yeah, I actually, I think that in the rebuilds, with the more money and everything like that, the actual fights were a lot cooler. There was a lot more production value, and the better animation and stuff made the actual fights between the Avas and the Angels, I think, a lot more intense in some cases. But to get to the third one, and we can sort of backtrack, I guess, just kind of go all around. The thing I didn't like about the third one, a lot of people are going to talk about how it's basically just like gay fan fiction between Kaoru and Shinji.
Look, it had the same problem. It had the same problem as Yuri on Ice. There weren't enough boys kissing for my taste, and I found it very deplorable. Okay,
but the other thing is that it puts us into this world, right? 14 years later, and we learn absolutely nothing about it.
Yeah, like, that's probably the worst part and the most jarring, and I think like really kind of makes people not like the third film very much, is just the 12-year time skip, and absolutely nothing gets explained to Shinji, but everyone like bitches at him, and it's just like, oh wow, why is he so withdrawn and not wanting to help you? I don't know, maybe you could have just like told him what happened, because they fucking exposition the shit out of the fourth film. Holy shit.
Yeah.
They were just like, oh, by the way, the third impact actually did happen after your failed third impact, and also Kaji is dead, and it's all your fault, and fuck you.
Yeah, you little bitch. I enjoy Shinji bullying, but like there's a lot of like things that weren't explained. Like I don't think they got discussed. There were villages, right, that were still had surviving people inside of it.
We didn't find that out until into the fourth film. Like,
right.
Basically,
that's a pretty big thing to know.
Yeah, so for people who have watched the anime series, and I guess if you're like don't give a shit about spoilers, you're not listening to this. The third film opens up like 14 years later, because instead of Unit 1 going berserk when the angel that had gotten into the Geofront and Shinji fought it and ate its core. Instead, it just causes third impact, and then Kaoru in his Evangelion launches the Lance of Longinus and ends it. But then it like goes on again later on, because we find that in the fourth film that happened later. It seems as if like third impact got shut down, but then it like started back up, and Shinji basically got frozen in time for 14 years. Eva pilots apparently don't age after they get inside of the Eva.
Yeah, that was added in, which
we just don't want to make them look old. We can't make our waifus look old. That's stupid, and that can't sell merchandise.
It gets utilized in because It gets utilized with the extra pilot that's not in the original series Mari, because that was something I caught on to in the fourth film, which was kind of cool. Is that
She was actually like a researcher there at that facility.
Yeah, she was working with Yue and Gendo and old dude Futsuki. Or what?
Kozo?
Gendo's second in command.
Yeah, his name is his name is Kozo, isn't it?
I just preferred him as the old dude, the old guy.
yeah, the old man. She was working with
Fuyutsuki.
him.
It's Kozo Fuyutsuki.
His whole point, his whole character is to be second in command. He doesn't have a personality, so it's kind of whatever.
He's old man.
He's old man.
And then like, the world is like completely fucking destroyed. We find out later that there are like humans that are still living, but that's not until the fourth film. And
which you figured that would be important enough to bring up. Oh yeah, by the way, your friends are thriving and they're surviving. You want to go talk? No, we just got to bully the shit out of Shinji because fuck you, it's all your fault, nerd.
By the way, all of your potential waifus are taken.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You would have actually, because Toji's sister is on, because basically the genre shifts from a sort of like single defending a point against a monster of the week sort of thing to a giant floating battleship that
space battleship Yamato too.
Yeah, essentially that's like powered by the spine of an angel, and it's
isn't it powered by Eva 1? Like it's kind of made out of the skeleton of
but it also has it also has like a spine of an angel, and that's how it's like flying and shit. And so it's basically like a glorified Eva unit, except I don't know if it has like an AT field. I think it does. But fucking Misato is leading a resistance group against Nerve, because Nerve is just like full on bad guys now, instead of getting used by Sele and getting like destroyed at the end of Evangelion. It's now like kind of the de facto ruler of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, they do turn into gods essentially. So there's that.
I mean, but are Nerve really the bad guys? Are they?
Kinda, yeah.
I mean, they did help destroy the human race, so.
Yeah, but sometimes I feel like that's probably the good guy thing to do, you know?
Are we trying to argue eugenics on an anime boomer podcast?
No, I'm just saying that I checked Twitter right before this, and I'm kind of with Nerve right now.
Well, see, that's just Twitter.
That
was your first mistake.
Can there be a Nerve for Twitter? the Twitter instrumentality project.
That was actually like the weirdest thing about the films is that like in the first one, Nerve is overseen by Sele, which is like a Illuminati type organization, like that oversees the already like really fucking shady Nerve organization, and their whole like plan is to hijack Instrumentality and make themselves gods. And like they're completely irrelevant in these films.
Can we play? I don't know if you'll get copyright striked or not, but the Alex Jones it's essentially explaining the Instrumentality project.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
I mean, like, I'm sure Hideki Anno is pretty black-pilled, but I mean, the concept of humans wanting control over all humans is really not that. Because, I mean, when you think of, like, evil people, right, it's all about human control and power. So the thought of an organization essentially wanting to sacrifice all humans for their own better good so they can get like, the whole point of the Instrumentality project is to get in contact with other aliens, right, or other angels, so they can be one together. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong.
Kinda, it's to like make themselves into a new like angel type being, but with their own will, so that they like become, like I said, essentially a god.
They want to combine because humanity and Evangelion is born from Lilith. But Adam was the one that originally landed on the planet and gets shut down because Lilith also comes to the planet. And so the angels are there to try to wipe out humanity so they can bring back Adam, and Adam can eat Lilith, so Adam's and his descendants can take over the world and remake it in their image. And they want to bootstrap themselves onto godhood because they believe that if, they can merge with Adam and Lilith, that they would become like this one supreme being that would rule over all and be able to remake all of reality into their image. And that's like the whole point. Meanwhile, you've got Gendo, and he just wants Yui. And so he doesn't really give a crap about any of the rest of it. He wants to implement human instrumentality so he can bring back his dead wife.
Is it Yui or is it Wei?
Yui.
Yui.
I just kept hearing them say,
probably hear them say Yui. Yui.
Right,
Probably because it's a little bit with the way they pronounce it. It's the U. You probably can't hear it.
It's
just like with
Sele
Des and Desu. Yeah.
It's like Sele and Zella. Depending on the dub that you're listening to, because the dubbing brothers, they call them Zella, and then Funimation I think calls them Sele. So
I only do subs, but I'm not one of those dub plebeians. I'm a sub man.
You're a big
I like listening
sub,
to
huh?
both. I like listening to both.
So you're also a fan of Shinji Ikari. There you go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is one of my. I love Alex shows. This is one of my favorite clips of his.
Yeah, this is Alex Jones explains the plot of Evangelion to Joe Rogan. I'm gonna go ahead and play this.
And they team up. They team up, and they usually have high intelligence. And there's armies. We're fighting a pedophile conspiracy, but beyond that, it's a vampire conspiracy in that they are interdimensionally sucking the essence of our youth.
Right.
And they believe they're possessed by an off-world entity.
They do?
Yeah, and Joe, I've been on air 22 years. I don't get into aliens, metaphysical, religion, any of that. I've studied the elite, and I've also communicated with a lot of the top people. And if you want to know, I will actually break down right now the best knowledge right now what's happening on the planet.
What's happening?
Oh no, this might get copyrights.
It's definitely getting copyrights.
Yeah.
But no, I've seen this clip, but putting the music behind it is just it's just perfect. Yeah. No, the
If you're talking, Gator, we can't hear you.
Oh, that's because I was muted. I'm gonna cut that out, just so it doesn't get like a copyright struck or whatever. But let me see if I can find one here that's. I don't think this one has any music on it. Okay, yeah, this one's a little better. Let's leave a little note there. Yeah, because that's gonna get copyright struck. I didn't know they would actually do that there. So let's.
You always have to scroll down towards the bottom of the bio to see if it's got like the copyright thing.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's how I choose music or what to use. If I scroll down and see if it's copyrighted or not.
Yep, there we go. But let's play this one. This is Alex Jones explains the plot of Evangelion.
But there's this big war trying to basically destroy humanity because humanity has free will, and there's a decision to which level we want to go to. We have free will, so evil's allowed to come and contend, not just good. And the elites themselves believe they're racing using human technology to try to take our best minds and build some type of breakaway civilization where they're going to merge with machines, transcend, and break away from the failed species that is man, which is kind of like a false transmission because they're thinking what they are is ugly and bad, projecting it onto themselves instead of believing, no, it's a human test about building us up. And so Google was set up 18, 19 years ago. I knew about this before it was declassified. I'm just saying I have good sources. That they wanted to build a giant artificial system. And Google believes that the first artificial intelligence will be a supercomputer based on the neuron activities of the hive mind of humanity with billions of people wired into it with the Internet of Things. And so all of our thoughts go into it, and we're actually building a computer that has real neurons in real time that's also psychically connected to us that are organic creatures so that they will have current prediction powers, future prediction powers, a true crystal ball, But the big secret is, once you have a crystal ball and know the future, you can add stimuli beforehand and make decisions that control the future. And so then it's the end of consciousness and free will for individuals, as we know, and a true 2.0 in a very bad way, hive mind consciousness with an AI jacked into everyone, knowing our hopes and dreams, delivering it to us, not in some PKD wirehead system where we plug in and give up on consciousness because of unlimited pleasure, but because we were already wired in and absorbed before we knew it by giving over our consciousness to this system by our daily decisions that it was able to manipulate and control into a larger system. There's now a human counterstrike taking place to shut this off before it gets fully into place and to block these systems and to try to have an actual debate about where humanity goes.
The amount of layers.
Pedophiles and psychic vampires that are in control of this AI system before humanity's destroyed.
So yeah, you could change up like Google being Nerve, and then like AI system being like with angels, and then there's like little things you could change. But essentially, yeah, that's it. So Nerve wants to make like an instrumentality product so it could get in contact with these alien beings, become higher up, and such become almost like gods in a way.
And they've also got like the Magi system, which is based on the Dead Sea Scrolls, where they've laid out all of these predictions and how to activate these predictions. The original series doesn't really go into it that much, but the Rebuild movies really hardcore point out the fact that's like, all of this has been predicted, all of this is going according to the Dead Sea Scrolls and Sele and the Magi system that has the AI, the super intelligent AI that's like plotted out the course of how to get to the human instrumentality project.
Yeah, there's definitely like this fatalism, I think, to Evangelion, and it's sort of like this destiny, this kind of fatalistic attitude that clashes with Shinji feeling like he is responsible for everything bad going on, when, you know, in reality, what we know is that it was all sort of almost like set in stone, like, you know, way before Shinji was even conceived. And he's just kind of playing this part and playing a pivotal part, but still just playing a part in what was already destined to happen. Something that the rebuilds didn't really get into that much, well, a couple things, is because of where the near third impact happens. You know, obviously it deviates a lot, and we do miss out on some stuff that I liked from the original show, like the supercomputer that was the one chick's lesbian's mom or whatever.
Lesbian's mom.
Yeah,
Ritsuko.
sorry. Yeah,
Ritsuko isn't the lesbian. The operator that crushes on her is.
Oh, okay.
The short-haired girl.
Yeah. So Ritsuko's mom.
Ritsuko gets fucked by Gendo and used by her.
Oh, that's right.
She's also a fuckhole for him to use.
And gets called an old hag by Ray.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's been about a year since I've seen the original show, but yeah. So the whole supercomputer mom aspect of it, which was almost like a prelim or like a predecessor, I guess, of instrumentality in a way.
Also like a pregnancy euphemism too there. So
yeah, and then the other thing that the rebuilds kind of jettisoned that I personally liked is Asuka's backstory, and what they do in 3+1 I thought was interesting. But tell me if you guys like also caught on to this. It seems like when they're in the anti-verse, the anti-universe or whatever, at the end of 3+1, it seems to imply that Asuka was also a clone.
Yeah, she was.
Yes, they don't just imply it; they directly,
they
say
explicitly say that she's one of the whatever her last name in the rebuilds
Shikinami, the Shikinami series.
Yeah,
she's just a different series. Whereas, like, Rei was the Ayanami series, and then she's the whatever her last name series is. Like, she's just specifically built, and it's kind of funny because Asuka says to Rei early in 3+1, like, well, you were designed to have affection for Shinji. You know, that like that's just part of your design. And Ray, it's just like, well, I'm happy about that.
Yeah.
Very, very, very trad Ray. That's what I liked about the beginning of 3+1. We got like ultimate like trad waifu Ray.
Yeah, the animation in so the fourth movie, I don't like a whole lot of the CG aspects of the films.
Oh, really? I thought it was fantastic. Here's the thing. I disagree. I thought the opening scene with especially when they were in France battling, I thought that looked amazing. Like the backgrounds, especially, gave me an art boner. They were so fucking good. They were so fucking good. I will argue about this.
There's CG mechs that I really like, and then there's CG mechs that give me a fucking headache. And
like what?
Ones that I really like. I think Knights of Sidonia have really good mech designs. And I think that the overall CG aesthetics for that one works well. Especially making the aliens that they fight look really fucking terrifying, which is great. Mm-hmm. With the Eva ones, though, it looks which I actually did appreciate at the end in terms of animation. Some of the fights were okay. Some of them were a little nightmarish to fucking watch through. I did overall the animation. It's just the CGI mechs kind of don't do it for me. But when Shinji is fighting Unit 13 in the anti-universe or whatever the hell it's called.
They go Godzilla scene, that one where they had that one was cool. I really liked it.
I liked because I was this background and all how these things are moving looks really shit. It's this is supposed to be a movie set. This is supposed to look that's really cool.
I mean, that directly refers to Hideki Anno working on Godzilla too. So like I said, this is a lot of Hideki Anno's personal diary. And that was another big indicator of that because he worked on one of the last Godzillas.
Well, no, because Kino was bringing that up, and Shinji's playing a part that he's already been written into, and that kind of plays out at that last thing where all the Eva units are costumes, and they have all this production stuff, and going through all these different set pieces, and I thought that was really, really cool.
Well, they kind of do that in the first series too, where they're this is a stage play, but it's less. But I feel like it was less obvious because there was stage lights, right, and there was a stage there. But when you add the production side of it, when you see this is all part of a movie set, it made more sense contextually.
Well, because they kind of imply, especially with Karu's sort of monologue with Shinji and his own monologue with himself and with Kaji, it kind of implies that Rebuild isn't just a reboot of the Evangelion franchise. It's a continuation, I would say.
Yeah.
Because specifically when Karu is talking to Shinji, they're we met before, and it's over at that riverside after the large explosion that I forget the fight that preceded it, but basically Asuka's completely mind fucked, Rei's dead, Shinji is completely fucking alone, and in the ruins of Tokyo 3 he sees Karu hanging out on a tree and in a new lake that's made by a crater, and it's just so this is just a continuous cycle that just keeps on repeating, but this one's a little bit happier.
Well, they literally show Karu in coffins too. We're at his planet. He's literally being resurrected in each coffin, literally dying and resurrecting to help out Shinji every time and try to essentially he has a Groundhog Day from hell every time.
Well, he not to help out Shinji, but to that's one of the things that Kaji kind of confronts him in his little monologue. It's not that Karu wants to make Shinji happy, it's that Karu wants to be happy at Shinji being happy, at least initially. So, but like, and Karu even grows from that. So like everyone comes out of this one like a better person than they were before.
Yeah. Which I will say.
You can also kind of tell that it's a bit of a loop there, because the moon in the original series, the moon isn't like splattered red, but because that happens in End of Evangelion. But when you look at the moon, you can see like the giant red splatter that would have happened in End of Evangelion. So I feel like the Rebuild movies pretty much state that all of the stuff that happened in the previous series and in the movies, it all happened. But for some reason, everything gets reset, and it's heavily implied, at least in my opinion, that the catalyst for this reset is that Shinji always manages to arrive at this the imaginary Evangelion, and he can't accept what happened. He can't accept the bad stuff that's happened to him and all the people he cares about, and so the imaginary Evangelion grants his wish to go back and redo it.
Well, like,
I don't think so, because I think that like Rebuild of Evangelion is a endpoint for Evangelion. Not just in terms of like the franchise as itself, but I think it's also an endpoint in that like Evangelions don't exist anymore.
Right,
so
that's what
there's
I'm saying,
no more
in the previous
of Shinji being a pilot.
In the previous series, that he always arrives at the human instrumentality project. He always makes it to the imaginary Evangelion in previous series, and he always decides, because he's still whiny, angsty Shinji. He's like, I can't accept this. I just can't deal with this. I wish I had a second chance to fix all the shit I fucked up. And then it resets the universe each time. At least that's what I feel like.
I think it's more of like a looping cycle that the universe goes through. Because when Shinji's talking to Asuka in the fourth film, he basically kind of apologizes, and he apologizes specifically that I didn't kill you and I didn't save you. I just did nothing, and I didn't want to be held responsible. And I think that like kind of speaking to Shinji's attitude at the end of Eva, where he doesn't really do anything with instrumentality. Like everyone is kind of implied that they might be able to reform later on, but Shinji doesn't do anything with this like building blocks that he's been given. He just like kind of maybe we'll have Asuka to strangle, but like he just does nothing
until the end of the time. Well, like that's the real euphemism of like Eva, isn't it? Because it's all about otaku culture and how how these otakus will literally just be degens and do nothing with their life and be presented with all these like struggles and just choose to be the Shinji, the little bitch Shinji who had to be forced into an Eva, right? So, and this is why I really liked how fourth movie ended, because I guess big spoilers, Shinji grew the fuck up, literally, mentally and literally, and then everything was back in normal Japan, and he ended up with Mari. Is that her name? I always forget her name.
Yeah, Mari.
Mari, yeah.
She has big boobs.
But well, he didn't even end up with the other two or anyone else, because it kind of, the way I view it as is Asuka was symbolizing like his crush, right? The first girl he liked. Well, you kind of have to let that shit go.
And raise his mom.
and then raise his mom, and then Masato would be a pedophile. And that's not cool. And then Karu, he's gay. Unfortunately, that can't be canon because otaku can't let that happen. But it's all these circumstances where it wouldn't work out. And Asuka was obviously symbolic of like your first love, your first crush, and being devastated by it. And you can probably view it as other ways, as like Anno, like Hideki Anno's work, his first love, his first work being crushed and being whatever. And then he just kind of grows the fuck up, and he gets a job, and he's in a normal, happy relationship with Mari. Like, and I feel like that's why this one ends so much better, because it's the first ending of Eva. It's kind of like this weird art house situation. A lot of people defend it. A lot of people say it's trash. I'm more leaning towards the middle, where I can get why people like view it either way. But you still have to consider this was budget issues. Hideki was severely depressed. They didn't know exactly how it was going to end. And it was such a weird ending that otakus were literally attacking and threatening. What's the studio called? Gainax?
Gainax.
Is it Gainax? Yes. They were threatening to kill people that worked at Gainax. And they showed these emails at the movie, the end of Evangelion movie, as a way of Hideki Anno to say, this isn't acceptable, or this is how you guys view yourself. And I also feel like Shinji, the masturbation scene with him masturbating above Asuka's unconscious body, was also a way of Hideki saying, this is what you guys look like, you pathetic fucking coomers. Fuck you. A lot of people say Hideki hates his fans. I don't know if he hates them. I don't think that's it. I think it's
I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna say, like, if you like came out of End of Evangelion thinking that Anno might have some like fucking mental issues, this one will make you feel like, holy shit, he must have gotten really better. He must be actually happy
No,
right now.
I mean,
He
that's
got them
literally
good
what
drugs.
it means. I mean, that's literally it. And that's another thing why it's so like it's a weirdly cynical, like, Eva's cynical. Like, that's it. Eva's pessimistic and cynical. The first series is the whole way through, even at the ending. And the thing about Eva,
there's episodes that are like very lighthearted and fun. There's like a lot of like parts of the soundtrack that are lighthearted.
Like the tag team episode where they have to work together.
The overall arc is like kind of a downer note, but I like. Even the end of the end of the original series with like
no, here's my point. So my point was, you have this overarching downer, right? And you have at the very end, he's like, congratulations, right? Congratulations. Or he ended up with the girl he chose, right? And it's supposed to be a semblance of, hey, otakus, you can also, get out of this situation if you just try hard enough. But it's like, Hideki Anno, obviously, he's still like down, mentally ill. And it's like, I don't know, having like a mentally ill person tell you that your life could be better, man, just try hard. It's it's not something another mentally ill person wants to hear. Like, you would rather hear somebody who's successful in life try to give you advice. And I feel like that's another thing that was kind of like almost an insult to people watching the first Eva. And that's kind of why people think Anno hates his fans. Because the whole theme is cynical, and at the end, he's telling people to, like, just get in the fucking robot, man. Just get your shit together. And it's hard to listen to somebody who obviously is still going through their own problems, trying to give you advice of your life. So it also could be viewed as insulting.
I didn't see End of Eva as being cynical at all. I actually thought that End of Eva was pretty hopeful in how it ended.
I mean, that's the thing. It's trying to be.
It has like hopeful caveats. Like, the bleak landscape is sort of offset by like, if they want to, they can return, and like,
yeah, it's kind of like
fully kill Asuka. So
yeah, well, no, but it's kind of like more like this. It's about making that choice. And that's what End of Eva sort of. It ends with is making the choice between becoming part of one or holding on to your individuality, and and they're given that choice. And I think it also makes sense, right? Like, that End of Eva could essentially end with the beginning of Evangelion Rebuild, because with all that orange goo all over
that orange cum goo
all over the world, and he's given the choice to allow people to come back. Maybe at that point, when it's rebuilt, it's rebuilt back in time, however long ago, a year or whatever. And it makes sense, and also there are a few differences in the world in Rebuild. Like, I don't remember the seas being red in the show. Were they red in the show? Yeah, they weren't. Yeah, and that was a new thing, and that was a new sort of aspect of the impacts that the Rebuilds brought on, and that the second impact purified the seas, and then the third impact purifies the land, and then the fourth impact purifies the souls, right? That's kind of the new lore in a sense.
Right.
Whereas in the show, they're just trying to stop another impact. The second impact didn't seem to, have much of a purpose other than to just sort of shake up the world or or introduce
they don't
angels.
explore it. They don't explore it a lot in the anime, but the years following the second impact like had a profound impact on like the adults that were living through it, and it was like a shit ton of people died.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's why
famines
Misato's
and all that stuff.
backstory is.
Yeah, that's Misato's backstory. No, I know, but I'm just saying that, like,
Oh no, that's more Kaji's backstory, because Kaji's brother was killed in the aftermath of Second Impact.
No, but what I'm saying is that, like, in the rebuilds, they're like, yes, there's this grand purpose to the impacts where this is purifying the sea, this is purifying the land, this is purifying the souls. It's just sort of like, okay, it's a sort of like, it's like this 3 stages, right, of this ongoing process that's happening. Whereas in the show, it seemed it was like more like these cataclysmic events that were more isolated from each other, but linked to each other and just kind of what happens. I don't know. Like, I don't read the wikis. I just I watched the show a year and a half ago, and I just watched the rebuilds.
It's kind of like you have to remember like what all the pieces go into like Eva too. That's another thing. That's why people I feel like out of all the anime I watched, Eva was the first one I did like deep lore diving on, because Eva was the first anime I watched. I was like, oh, this anime thing, it can be more than just like pretty people fighting. It can be like a little bit deeper than that. And there's a lot of unanswered questions when it comes to Eva, because they only give you like the iceberg of it, right? Which is how good written stuff should be. But there's also like them not explaining some of the more logistic side of it, like how angels work and where we come from. That's I don't think that's great writing. But I feel like as far as like what Eva is supposed to mean and what it means to people and how it all pieced together, I feel like that's what's the best part of Eva.
I think that Eva works because there's definitely an emotional reaction to a lot of stuff, and it has, especially like End of Eva and 3+1 both have very emotional endings. I would even say that 3+1 the whole village scene was just mesmerizing.
Oh yeah, holy shit.
That was the best part of the movie, honestly. Oh, I mean,
the animation budget in that fucking sequence was through the fucking roof. Holy shit.
I mean, even seeing just like I don't know, just seeing how these people interacted with each other, like very post-apocalyptic, was great. Because I mean, not only that, it's also telling Otaku, if it all this shit around you seems like it's overwhelming, but you go out and you touch grass, you touch grass like Ray, you become happy, you can interact with people.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that there were a lot of good character arcs during that sequence of Shinji overcoming his grief, Ray sort of learning how to become human, and the baby
Asuka being naked throughout most of it, pretty great too.
That was also
Kaoru coming to terms with the fact that he doesn't have to get his happiness exclusively through Shinji's happiness.
Yeah, it was just a bunch of good stuff that was happening during that sequence, and it kind of made me want the whole film just to be that sequence. Like I was like I really did like the anti-verse stuff and everything, but I wouldn't have minded if 3+1 was just them rebuilding, living in that village for 2.5 hours. I would have been like, yeah, I'm on board with this. Like,
that's just the reality now. Yeah,
have a little Eva fight at the beginning where they get rid of the Eiffel Tower and they smash up France a little bit, and I mean, the French deserve it. And then and then go and watch Ray learn how to become human, and Shinji come out of his shell and get over the grief of the third impact and all that kind of stuff. It was really fun, and it kind of reminded me of like I was like, this is almost kind of like a Studio Ghibli movie. This is like a like a good Studio Ghibli movie. Unlike I'm gonna just have my hot take here on like a Grave of the Fireflies, which I did not like. But yeah, no, I really liked the first hour. But the anti-verse stuff was, it was really cool. The movie set stuff, which also going back into it, is the Dead Sea Scrolls actually just the script for the for the films? That's what Anna's thinking about.
And that's why Moses found it. We found the actual script at Evangelion.
Yeah. But what I was gonna say is that Eva, the reason why Eva works is because as a person who, I'm just a movie guy, I'm not really an anime guy, but like I want to have an emotional impact from a movie. Like, to me, that's like the most important thing a movie can do, is it can move you emotionally in some way. And Eva does do that, but it does have this kind of mythic quality to its whole world and to everything. And it explains some stuff, and I think it explains enough, but I don't think it's important to know the deep lore to understand the film and to understand the films or the show. It's not important to know all the deep lore. Like, you don't have to go to the wiki to understand what's going on in front of you. And I don't know, I kind of like sort of not knowing some of the deep lore, because some of the stuff, it's almost better to let it remain a mystery, because it gives it,
that's what really
mysterious quality.
Yeah, that's what really differentiates Eva from like most anime, because it is so dialogue heavy between like just characters talking about like their day and how they interact with each other and their relationships. Because it's more about human, the human mentality, to put it that way. But it's really about like the way humans interact with each other and overcoming challenges in life and being put in like situations you don't feel emotionally or mentally prepared for, but you kind of have to deal with like it's kind of like Misato has to deal with her PTSD. Shinji has to deal with his daddy issues. Asuka has to deal with her abandonment. Huh?
Misato has to deal with daddy issues too.
Well, that's true. But I'm talking about like her main point is like she's got heavy PTSD, to put it generally. But
yeah.
And then Asuka has to deal with her insecurities and her abandonment issues. And then Rei has to deal with the fact that she's just a fuckhole and has no emotions. And then it's Karu. I don't really care for what they did with Karu and the rebuilds at all. I feel like he was way more impactful with what little he did. Like he was only in there for like 2 episodes, right?
Yeah. And he was like the angel of the week, sort of. But, a little differentiation, because we had gotten used to the angels being like weird, weird
big monsters. Thing. Yeah.
Big weird looking monsters.
Big pyramid. Boom.
Set on destroying Tokyo 3. And then it's like down comes Mr. Anime Man, who is in love with Shinji.
Yeah, big yaoi. But like I really liked him, because his whole thing was like he loved and admired Shinji no matter what. So no matter what Shinji was or who he was, Karu's going to show him affection. And that was the only time Shinji felt real love from another person ever.
Yeah, because he never felt it from his dad.
Yeah, because you're big fucking beta incel. And so here comes this big pretty anime boy being like, I touch peepees with you, I like you. And he's like, oh, I don't know how to feel about this, man.
Shinji was sitting there just like, do I touch the peepees?
Do I touch femboy cock? I don't know. Is it gay? So he's a fanboy, right? So
kind of gay.
Yeah.
It's incredibly gay.
So
incredibly gay.
So anyway, turns out Mr. Karu-san was a fucking angel, and he's like, well, I'm here to genocide all humans. Sorry about that, bro. And he's like, well, okay. And then I also feel like it's a really long scene, and you could say it's for budget reasons, but I actually really liked it. The scene where he had to kill Karu, which was like 3 minutes long. A painful, agonizing, when the fuck is he gonna fucking smush him?
The fucking music that just slowly but surely crescendos and then it's just like quick cut, and you just see the shadow and the bloop.
Yeah, and that's a really good scene to me. I really like that scene.
Speaking of a long scene that got butchered in the rebuilds.
The elevator scene.
The elevator scene. Yeah. And when they got into the elevator, I was thinking, are they going to do the same thing as in the show? Or is this going to be the one static shot like for 10 minutes? No, it cuts in between like an actual movie. I was like, what? I wanted the elevator scene. Come on.
I feel like the elevator scene was a lot more important to the story than people give credit. Sure, there was budget reasons why it was there, but also, I don't know. I feel like because they had just had a fight, right? If I remember correctly, Rey and Asuka, and you know what? Being inside a giant building with somebody you just got into a fight with, felt just awkwardly standing. That would be kind of awkward, wouldn't it? It probably would take a minute, and then you just kind of feel the awkwardness because Rey has no emotions. But also Asuka has emotions. So you kind of see their emotional fuckhole and an over-emotional fuckhole kind of get into argument and they're like after steam. Because I mean, I feel like we've all been in that kind of situation, right? Where we get into awkward car ride with our parents who just got into an argument or something along those lines, or maybe we had to be in a car ride. Like it's that kind of situation. You just got through an argument and then you have to sit there after the steam.
Speaking of the elevator scene, I absolutely have to play this. This is one of my favorite edits.
It don't matter. None of this matters.
That's one of my favorite edits with Carl from Aqua Teen Hunger Force thrown in there.
Oh, you should probably put a warning. I don't know. This is not silence in like the podcast.
Yeah, this is not silence. This is them on the elevator.
You don't need to adjust your headphones.
Yeah. They continue their fight into the elevator and the rebuilds. So, and they were fighting over Shinji. I do believe in the I forgot what they were fighting over in the show because it's been a while. But yeah, I was a little upset. I kind of wanted to have that, masterful long take. Which
I mean,
just a PNG.
It was stupid because it was just like, a single shot the whole time to, expand the scene, but also it made a lot of sense where you're like, okay, feel this awkwardness. I can only imagine like what it was like when I first aired in Japan too. I wonder if Japanese people are like, my TV working? Huh?
Yeah.
Hold on. And it just keeps going on and on and on.
It's kind of like we talked about the Endless Eight in a previous episode with Haruhi Suzumiya, where a lot of people were wondering, like, did they accidentally replay the previous episodes? Like, no, welcome to hell. 8 episodes
Kino doesn't know Haruhi. So there's this anime called Haruhi Suzumiya,
the
and they had like a second
of Haruhi
season.
Suzumiya.
Yes, melancholy. And what happened was they were stuck in a loop, right? Time loop. So in most time loop shows like Groundhog's Day, it'll be like technically the same day, but different things will happen, right? So it's not literally repeating the same dialogue, the same clothes, blah blah blah, right?
Yeah.
So Haruhi did the most boring, weird option. So this was originally supposed to be like a chapter. It was only supposed to be like a short amount of time in the novels. But the anime decided to use 8 fucking episodes of the same dialogue, the same situations, and the only thing that was really different were the clothes they were wearing. Or maybe they would have like a dialogue or two that was slightly different. But it was literally watching the same episode, 8 episodes in a row.
Yeah, that's very Nietzschean when you think about it. It reminds me of Friedrich Nietzsche and his concept of amor fati, or eternal recurrence. So, they were just probably reading some Nietzsche, and definitely wasn't for budgetary reasons.
Well, I mean, so it was supposed to emphasize like, hey, this is a loop, this is a loop, this is a loop, right? But they could have easily done it in like 3 episodes or a few. It was literally just so they could expand a season because they didn't have enough what's it called? They didn't have enough material from the novels to make a whole season. So they're just like, okay, well, we'll just say fuck it. We'll just make 8 episodes. And so not only that, they couldn't just replay the same recordings from the voice actors, right? Nope, they had to literally re-record their dialogue over and over and over for each episode.
Time is a flat circle.
Time is a curious thing.
Evangelion, I guess, maybe works into that where it's this kind of looped world. But I think that I'm just repeating what was said earlier, but I've been thinking about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like, what if it's like humans are working towards like a much better world?
Society?
Like, okay, no, but think of it like this, right? And it's kind of done in a sort of more metaphorical way. But humans are working towards a better society, and there's like, basically, it's like the uprising of civilization, then the downfall of civilization, then the rebirth, right? And how history isn't chronological. History is, history kind of works in cycles,
Mm-hmm.
Like
I'm reading. Repeat ourselves.
Well, not necessarily repeat ourselves, but go through the same sort of ups and downs. I heard someone say it recently. It's like history doesn't necessarily repeat itself, but it does rhyme. Yeah, and I've been reading a bit of Oswald Spengler recently. He's a very big book, very interesting book called The Decline of the West, talking about philosophy of history. Also reading a bit of Hegel. Of course, Hegel has his own takes on what history is. But anyways, like he Spengler sort of talks about history as being like culture, civilization, and then civilization is sort of the death of culture. And then when civilization crumbles, eventually the culture kind of comes back, and then the culture will be sort of set in stone and deadened in a sense with civilization. And we see that with the Greeks to the Romans. Greeks were, this period of like an outgrowth of culture, and then it kind of was set in stone with the Romans, where the Romans just sort of imported a lot of their own myth from the Greeks to Rome. And then he also kind of notes how it's almost like the Renaissance in Europe then sort of got deadened into civilization with the Enlightenment period, and we're sort of in this decline now of Western society, that's going to go into some sort of new thing. But with each, but if you look at history that way, I mean, each new sort of iteration, right, gets closer to something that's better in a sense. So you can look at it that way, where it's like crime now actually is a lot lower than it was back in the Roman era. Like you don't necessarily have to worry about getting like your throat slit if you want to like go to Germany or something like that.
Well, people are less bored because of the internet. This is also true.
Yeah. And, but things like that, like you can say that maybe in each cycle we get closer and closer to maybe a more ideal society, but then you can also bring in reversibility to that, in which we'll never have an ideal society. But that's a whole different philosopher. But maybe Ava is kind of working off of a similar sort of, wow, some absolute Chad just went by me in a motorcycle.
Brap.
But brap. But anyways, maybe
South Park had a word for people like that we can't say on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
It starts with D, ends with Ushbag. I don't know.
I remember that. I remember that was a good episode. But no, but maybe Ava's kind of working off of this, right? Where the world of Ava is a cyclical world, where in each cycle is getting closer and closer to the ideal, to utopia, And I think that they, with Karu coming out of all the coffins or whatever, like the whole, like I don't know how many, were before him or whatever. Like
It implies it's almost
yeah.
infinite.
Yeah.
Yeah, it implies it's almost infinite. Like you can get infinitely better with each sort of reset of this world. You know, Shinji's actions, which is the actions of humanity, right? Get better and get more matured, and we get closer to this ideal, to this utopia. And maybe with the rebuild 3+1, maybe that's the final one, the final universe.
Well, it has to do with maturity too. Like I keep bringing up otakus because that's like the main predecessors is also otaku, because there's also like it's a lot of mecha shows I've noticed have to do with like puberty and growing up too, especially post Eva.
Most anime are like that.
Because I mean, yeah, because it's about a teenage protagonist like growing the fuck up, but Eva has to do with a lot of like what would a person who's 14 years old do with like the fact that they are, you know, the single person responsible for saving the universe? Would they man the fuck up and be total anime protagonists, or would they be like a little insecure bitch like a lot of teenagers are? They're insecure and they can't handle like this kind of situation. So Shinji getting the robot is one thing. Him clinging onto his crushes but not being able to express himself, that's another thing. Everyone having to deal with their own shit but dealing with IRL, that's another thing people have to deal with maturity. So literally, like, showing him literally growing up, I feel like was a way better way of ending Eva. And I thought it was a cute ending. I really liked it. I really liked it because you get to see him be a literal man and being happy. And isn't that what life is all about? Being a man, getting a big titty waifu, and you know, living
big titty
life how
mommy
you,
GF.
Yeah, who speaks French, and yeah, I mean, isn't that what life really is about? And also, you get to see all like the pilots too. They get to have their own solidarity too, because you don't get to see them as adults, but you still see them as teenagers. But you get to see them as just living a normal life. And
except for Asuka.
Yeah, she's like in the corner playing video games or something on her phone.
Well, Asuka got her happy ending with Kensuke, so that was like one of the big things. Was once her issues were resolved, Shinji just kind of let her go, and she went off to be with the guy that she loves, the first guy that really like sat down and, you know, had a conversation with her and patted her on the head, you know, acknowledged her existence. That was all Asuka really wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that all that we really want?
No.
Oh. Well, I guess just me.
Yeah, just you because you're a woman.
Because I'm literally Asuka. She's literally me.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
literally me.
Yeah, I relate to. Oh my god, I had to tell you a story. So we were, it was me, Necro, Scratchpoints. Well, I say it was me, but I was watching it. But Scratchpoints and Necro were on this podcast, and they were talking about why Goblin Slayer was, you know, problematic or whatever. And they got this one bitch on there, and he was advocating for, they didn't have to show rape in Goblin Slayer. And they were like, okay, what? And then I got more into his psyche. And they're like, okay, you watch anime. Which is your favorite anime character, right? To get to know this dude. And he was like, I relate to Shinji. And then I started spamming Soyji. I was fucking okay, Soyji.
Yeah, I never said, wow, that guy is literally me when I watched Evangelion. But the fact that there weren't any characters that I related to probably means I have, you know, I'm a normal person.
I thought you liked that one dude who's Misato's
Kaji.
boyfriend. Yeah.
Kaji.
I do like Kaji. Yeah, I mean, I do like Kaji. I'm not going to say he's literally me, but I'm like, oh yeah, that seems
You
like
said that several times. Come on.
He seems like a cool dude. No, you asked me if I was anyone from the show. I'd be like, I guess I would be Kaji because I'm not a fucking like 14-year-old boy with major insecurities. You know, it's like, you know what I mean? And I'm not some like grown man who's trying to destroy the world just so that he can like be back.
Get a crumb of fuck again.
Yeah, exactly. Please, humanity die so I can get a crumb of pussy.
It's wild that what's his name, Kensuke, was the one who basically told Shinji to talk to his dad, and that's pretty much what saved everything. The fucking military otaku saved the world.
Dude, Kensuke is like the ultimate fucking Chad. He ends up with Asuka after everything. He pretty much solves the entirety of Evangelion. He's like, have you ever just thought about sitting down and just talking with your dad about shit? And Shinji's like,
I don't necessarily know if like he's gonna be fucking her or if he's gonna be like a surrogate father figure. I have no clue.
They're the same age.
I know, but she doesn't have like a normal like human's body, so I don't know.
Well, it's kind of implied that with the dissolution of the Evangelions, that everybody automatically goes to the correct age.
Essentially.
Yeah, because Shinji looks older and more mature. Mari,
because with Asuka's little flashback at the end, specifically with like her little doll that she had, like in the original series, you know, Asuka saw herself as the doll because her mother was like, "Oh, you're gonna be like, you know, my perfect creation and shit," and then like kills herself. I think she tried to kill Asuka too at some point. I don't remember specifically, but in this one, the doll sort of represents like a family person or like a parent that she never had. And since like Kensuke is in that doll, I always kind of like when I saw that as like Kensuke is going to be like a father figure to him, especially with like the way that they were interacting together. Like I don't know, I saw it as more like a father-daughter sort of thing.
Flam,
yeah.
I gotta talk to you for a second here. Spooky, don't listen. The thing about women is a lot of women will date men who they want to be their father figure.
Yeah. I know. I'm just saying that, like, I don't know. That's how I read. That's how I read into it. I didn't read into any into any sexual thing from it.
Well, the sexual stuff comes behind closed doors, you know.
Yeah.
But there's some
behind closed doors, huh?
daddy issues are rampant in the female species in the female community, and I would say that Asuka has both daddy and mommy issues. I think that they're together as like a relationship. I don't know how it would work where he's like her same age and basically just acts as her dad when she's a grown adult, like other than her being her husband or boyfriend or something like that, and just sort of maybe subliminally playing the part of the father figure.
Go to your room. You sit in your corner.
Yeah, exactly. No supper tonight.
Quit playing your goddamn video games. Go to bed.
She does have a video game addiction.
Yeah.
She does.
She had that in the original, too.
Yeah. I wonder if she would buy the Steam Deck. Would she buy the
She looks
Steam
like
Deck?
she was into more retro games, honestly.
I know, but you can get retro games on the Steam Deck. Because it's got the whole Steam library. You can play Quake.
Yeah, you can play RetroArch on it.
Yeah, you can. I mean, play Deus Ex. That's the only game I would ever play. Just get the Steam Deck to
I was
play
stuck
Deus
in a
Ex.
hellscape. if everyone was gone, Instrumentality took place, and I was by myself. I just played.
Yeah,
Deus Ex.
Yeah, or I would just like reshape the world so that I could like hang out with JC Denton and make the world of Deus Ex real, which would just be awful because it's like just an awful world to live in. But just to make my fanboyisms come to life.
Let me put on these nightmare goggles. Oh my god, it's exactly the same.
Yeah, exactly. Although we're getting, we're getting closer to the world of Deus Ex. Although I think that the new games got it a little bit wrong, or they got it very wrong in one sense. In that, I think that because in like Mankind Divided, it's like, oh, if you're if you're part robot, if you have the brain chip implanted in you, then you're discriminated against. I think it would be the opposite. That if you didn't get the government mandated brain implant, whatever, then you would be discriminated against. I think that's how it would work.
Are you implying if we don't inject microchips inside of us, we'll get discriminated against?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Oh.
I'm only talking about transhumanism. I'm only talking about cyborgs. I'm not talking about anything else, guys.
Oh, jeez.
I'm just talking about a video game.
Oh, geez, Rick, I need to get my transhumanism card so I can go to my party later and interact with my friends.
Yeah.
Well, any other points of Eva? We didn't talk about Flab. You haven't talked much.
No, Flames talked a lot.
Kinda. You sleepy?
You know what? The end of Ava 2 was awesome. That was badass. That was like probably the best fight in all of the Ava series, in my opinion.
Yes.
Yeah. That was awesome. Where he just like becomes this angel, you know, like he unbinds and everything like that. And they set it up pretty well in that movie with Mari sort of activating beast mode. And, you know, so it didn't feel like, oh, this came out of nowhere. Early on in the film, they imply that the Avas are, you know what I mean? Like, of course, like if you watch the original show, you know that. But, you know, you still have to assume with the movie that people haven't seen the television show.
Yeah, they're just robots and not these weird alien creatures.
With the Avas?
Yeah.
No. Like, yeah, you have to assume that's what they think.
Uh-huh.
You know? So yeah, so it was interesting, you know, so they set it up really well for that final fight where he kind of goes beast mode on the dude. And then that's almost brought to like a new level in 3+1 when Asuka becomes an angel and sort of fuses with her Ava. I
did like that scene. Yeah.
She becomes an angel in the process. How did she become?
Well, no, she was already part angel. She kind of got infected during the fight because they sort of switched it out for Toji, and like that eye patch, like her eye isn't missing. Her eye patch is just hiding like whatever is sealing her being an angel from taking over, but it's sort of like already taking over because she's like, she doesn't have to sleep, she doesn't have to eat, she only has to drink water, and she's like really pissed off about that.
Yeah, she never eats or sleeps. Yeah, that's right. She's just sort of slowly becoming an angel, and she sort of just like lets it all run rampant, you know, near the end to help save the day. But I did like in 3+1 how it deals. It felt like it came, like the ending of that was maybe it came from a more mature perspective than the end of Ava, because in 3+1 it deals with the relationship between Shinji and his father being kind of the crux of everything that's happening, rather than internalized Shinji with himself, which was kind of the end of Ava was, you know.
He's more like his dad that he knows. He's also a huge incel, gung-ho to destroy the world and humans in general, just to get a crumb of laid. So with Shinji.
Yeah, well, you know, he kind of finds out that he's not that different than his dad. But you also get more motivation behind the dad, and it makes the dad less of a monster. You know, and I think that it does a pretty good job of humanizing his dad amidst this entire sort of fiasco that's happening. And I really liked that, how it went from like End of Ava, where it's like it's Shinji going like, I don't know if I can do anything, blah blah blah, and you know, it's all internal, whereas 3+1 is more about his relationships to other people and has a more grown up feeling to it.
Well, like Gainax has a really interesting history of like the way it views its fans and anime in general. There's a like one of my favorite pieces of animation is called Me Me Me, and Kino should totally watch it if you haven't. I don't think you have. Me 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 is essentially, it's a loop, but it's also a music video about how anime and otaku culture has just really destroy this man's life. And it's made by the same people who made Eva, and there's direct references to Eva too. And it's way more of a literal representation of Eva. And I think it was made right after the first Rebuild was made. I think it was made shortly right after. So it starts off with the dude looking at all of his junk he's collected, unfinished models, smoking. He's just laying there depressed, and you get into his psyche of like cum and anime tits and porn and the Coomer posting and how it gets him with this dopamine rush. And then it slowly starts getting darker and darker. And it's revealed that he actually had a girlfriend before he became a total fucking degenerate, and he left her to be a degenerate. And it's really him fighting against like his like will to coom and to have a girlfriend.
The will to
like
coom
a normal
sounds
life.
like something out of a Friedrich Nietzsche book. Like he has the will to the will to power. You know, that's Nietzsche's big thing, the will to power. And I think that to go along with that is the will to coom.
And well, that's the thing. It's like it starts with his internal battle. It's a really cool piece of animation. I really love it. And it ends exactly how it starts. So it ends him laying in this bed, being depressed, and starting over again. And it's very okay, otakus. You could just continue being like depressed and coomers, and like we've talked about this several times in the anime boomer talk, especially with Cody in particular, who's very interested in this part of anime dumb, where it's like degeneracy is run rampant, and several studios, like it ran rampant in Japan in particular, and it's just anime studios trying to tell raw otakus like, take responsibility for yourself and quit being fucking depressed all the time and making up excuses. And several art pieces, and now it's like it's slowly taking over like the West too. Well, I say slowly, but it's rampant where, we're talking about smug anime Twitter, those smug anime profile pics. Well, they'll own the blue check marks on Twitter and be depressed and like be like, that Phil with no girlfriend. So Eva's very much it's also a part of that too, where it's commentary over otaku culture. Even that was even running rampant in like the 90s, because that's when this was first taking place.
I want to just expand on one thing I said earlier, and then I think that'll be all for what I really have to say about Eva, unless, a lot of stuff is probably escaping me right now, but the cyclical nature of it, thinking of the rebuild is almost like being the cycle that comes after the cycle in which the show and end of Eva take place in, and I guess
sort of like the Strauss-Howe generational theory, the fourth turning and all that.
Yeah,
kind of
well,
stuff.
but I'm also thinking of it like this, right? There's this cyclical nature to the entire show, whereas these are like the big cycles, like almost like the universe cycles, right? Where this universe goes through this cycle, the universe dies, it's recreated, right? And then this same thing kind of happens, right? And it gets to this point of the end of the world again, and and it's left up to this decision and whatever, and how we see in the rebuild. It has a different ending to what happens in the show and all that kind of stuff, right? But even within the show, it's very cyclical. You'll see a lot of the same animations, a lot of the same shots. Misato drinking her beer in the morning and smiling, and that kind of thing. And you think about it too. It's a running theme in the show. It's a running theme in the movies, where the angel comes down, and it's a very cyclical thing in the sense of like each time there's this new angel fight, but Shinji and the others get better at fighting. Like they mature themselves. They learn how to work together. It's like with each progression, each new monster that's coming down, and you can see it as a monster of the week, or but maybe that's also kind of indicative of these cycles, right? With each one, they kind of get better. They're more tested. They're like maybe it's harder or whatever, but maybe there's more destruction, like there's or something like that, but they get better within themselves, and they mature more with each iteration. And there's a lot of stuff that's kind of cyclical within the show and within the movies, using a lot of the same shots, kind of showing the day-to-day thing, and we live sort of cyclical lives, and really you do. Like, you kind of do the same thing on most days. You wake up, you go to work, you come home, you make dinner, you go to sleep, and it's like, but
wake up, coom, depressed, coom some more, take a nap, play video games.
BTFO blue check marks on Twitter.
What's his name's wife was even like directly saying that in the film to Ray.
Yeah, I think she was. Yeah, I watched it like earlier this week, so it's a little bit out of my memory, but yeah, it's like you lead these kind of cyclical lives, and the idea though behind life in general is that you're going to grow as a person through this kind of cyclical nature of life. Maybe small things, not each day is the same, but each day is very similar. And maybe with something that happens in each day, you become better and you become a better and better person. And in the same way that maybe the universe is almost like a person in that sense, within this world, right? Where it's going through cycle. And we see that with Karu, like what iteration of Karu is this? And it's not the same each day, but it's similar, but different. And maybe it's the ending gets happier and happier each time.
Taking the ultimate
white pill. And it just works. I think I don't think that it's a coincidence that the poster for Evangelion 3+1 is very white, because Anno probably knows about what the white pill.
White is the best color. White super. Oh wait, hold on. Anyway, so I feel like the best way of ending this podcast would be the ultimate question, boys and girls. Who is best girl?
Gator should go first.
Oh, you want me to go first? See, this plays in, I have an explanation for this. This plays into my theory about
the cops.
About all three of the Evangelion movies represent a different part of growing up. The original series represented childhood, because at the very end you see, the congratulations, you did it, wow, really good job. And that's kind of something that you expect in childhood, right? You expect to be acknowledged and congratulated because you made what you thought were all the right decisions and everybody's like super happy for you. And then you have End of Evangelion and Death and Rebirth, which represent adolescence with the angst and the, I don't know, oh my god, oh what, that sort of thing. And Shinji still doesn't really make the right decision at the end. But then you have the Rebuild movies, which represents growing into adulthood and becoming your own person and being, becoming the person that you're meant to be and having responsibility and acknowledging your mistakes and owning up for your actions. And that's ultimately what allows Shinji to cross the threshold and become a self-actualized person, is that he acknowledges the mistakes of his past. He acknowledges that he has to make decisions for himself, and he also has to let go of the baggage of the past that was holding him in that cycle of rebirth, that cycle of essentially the curse of Eva is that you're bound into this cycle forever. And, who Shinji is interested in changes depending on that cycle. In the original cycle, I think you could argue that he was more interested in Rei.
Because it's the mother.
Right, because you're when you're a child,
because
you're
he's a
attached to your mother.
I get it.
Chris Chan really likes Rei.
Like Chris Chan. So we know what Chris's favorite wife was. Chris picks Rei. So it's that first series, Shinji is obsessed with Rei. In the second quote unquote second series, which includes End of Evangelion, it's about Asuka, because she's a challenge to him. She the tsundere. She's the unobtainable that he wants to obtain. And then when Shinji becomes an adult, it's Mari, because she's a well-rounded person. She has big boobs. That's always positive. I think the ultimate waifu of the series, and this is the message that Hideki Anno is trying to convey, it has to be Mari. And it has to be Mari because Hideki Anno is telling you, hey, look, I know you guys have fought for like 20 freaking years over this Rei and Asuka shit, but those should not be the types of women that you should go after. I mean, I like tsunderes. That's a weakness. It's a flaw of mine. But you should not be idolizing these characters. You should not be like going after women that are similar to these characters, because that represents adolescence. That represents childhood. You're being a child. You should go after someone more like Mari, because you should be an adult. You should grow beyond your childish bullshit. And that's one of the biggest messages I think that Anno is trying to get across in the Rebuild movies is, hey, you've got to let this shit go. This is why he kills off all of the Eva units, even the ones that didn't even appear in the Rebuild movies that were from the original series, because he's like, okay, Eva is dead now. I have ended it. Everyone needs to move on. You need to grow the fuck up. And so I feel like for all of the messaging and everything, like the message he's trying to get across, Mari is the ultimate waifu. And plus she has big boobs. I mean, that's hard to argue against.
Big boob supremacy.
That's a
Big
pretty
boob
good
supremacy.
argument, but Asuka. Eye patch Asuka.
Space pirate
Asuka. That was, I don't know, like it for me it was Misato I was definitely a Misato enjoyer for a while, and then space
Misato enthusiast.
Yes.
Misato stan.
Yes, exactly. And but I don't know, like she kind of got not sexy in the rebuilds with her wearing all that, stuff. Just, really not showing her
Being a uniform, like being an actual leader.
I was like,
looking like
you're
a
not
pirate
sexy
leader.
anymore. Bye. But you have Space Pirate Asuka wearing an eye patch and having, like that alien eye or whatever. It was pretty cool, so I was like, wow. But I don't know, with Mari, like, no, I totally understand the whole thing about Mari too. Like, man, how would an actual relationship with Asuka be like? Probably end in disaster, to be honest.
Stupid.
Probably end up with your balls in your asshole.
And your asshole and your balls.
If I was Shinji and I had to pick between who do I want to get into a long-term relationship with? Yeah, I would probably pick Mari. She seems a lot nicer and to actually like she actually likes him.
Actually emotionally stable.
Mari, also known as Scuff02. I can't be the only one that noticed the similarities in personality between her and 02 from Darling in the Franxx, am I?
I mean, they clearly know they both know what sex is, okay?
Well, and they both know what they want, and what they want is that guy
His main character penis. Yeah.
That guy that smells a certain way. They gotta taste him.
Oh, stinky. Oh, I mean, I wish.
Yeah. Wow, you smell like
me.
LCL. Yummy. Like, is LCL like amniotic fluid or something like that? I mean,
it's supposed to symbolize like orgasm feeling.
Is it? I thought it was.
I think so.
No, I think it's like primordial soup. It's like basic building blocks of life sort of shit. Because it's like they harvest it from the Lilith that they have like crucified in Terminal Dogma.
I kind of assume that because like everybody at the end sees someone that they want to be either in a deep emotional relationship with at the end, or if they don't want to be in a relationship, they just see creepy ass Rays trying to kill them. And so that's why they that's why everyone hugs and gets like says goodbye to the person they love the most, and they end up kissing them.
Kinda. So like the reason why people turn into LCL is because humanity's AT field as the final angel is like individual intelligence, and when like confronted with a loved one, people will basically like lose their ego and dissolve like they do in the films.
Oh, so they go through an ego death, like they're on LSD.
Essentially, yeah. I would say that's probably
So they're tripping balls at the end, and then they turn into goo.
Yeah, I mean, like they die. Well, they kind of die because it's implied that they can like come back if they like really want to. But because I think that's what was going on with some of the characters, like Gendo's second in command. Like once he got to like where he was needed up until the point he just sort of like let go and then just became goo.
So who is best girl to you, Flam?
For the films, I would say
no, of all of Ava, at any story of Ava.
I honestly can't really tell. There's merits for some of them.
Who would you want to put your PP in the most? Come on.
The last film really, really wanted to push Mari shit, which I can understand. It is kind of weird that like Shinji hooked up with like a 50-year-old. That's a little weird, but
Mommy
other than
GF.
that, like other
hey, they
than
look
that,
the same age.
Huh?
I say they look the same age though. Like she's kind of stuck.
Yeah, but like Ava pilots don't age.
Well, I mean, they literally grew up though, so.
Right, but
they technically grew up together.
She was friends with Shinji's mom and dad in college, so.
Right, but then she gets older though, right? They both do. They grow older.
Yeah, like physically, yeah. I don't know. I think that's what the film was implying, so that was kind of cool. But it's a little weird because Shinji only has like two interactions with her throughout the entirety of the films.
Well, that makes sense. They end up together because they're the only ones that remember what the life was like before, right? So they kind of have the shared trauma of remembering the horror that was the previous world and all the impacts and
remembering a world with Evangelions. Yeah.
And so, like, they're the only people that could, like, remember and, like, talk to without sounding crazy. So it kind of makes sense if you share a past trauma, a shared life with somebody that that would be the only person you could relate to and talk to and, grow with in a way. So that's how I took it. Because, I mean, obviously they were the only people that were... Because he literally rebuilt the world so humans can come back and live like normal, like nothing happened. And he erased Evas from ever happening. So that no one knows what Evas are. They just live like normal. And him and Mari were the only people that truly remember and lived that kind of experience. So that's how I took it.
So Flame didn't answer the question.
Yeah, who would you want to put your PP in the most? Come on, get to it.
I'll go with Yui.
Shinji's mom.
Yeah, Shinji's mom was pretty. That was really sweet of her at the end because she like sacrificed herself with her husband to give Shinji a chance. That was a pretty good little send off considering in the end of the original films, Yue is like all pissed off that Gendo betrayed her. So now that they're all happy, so that was sweet.
So you're saying Shinji's mom has got it
going on? Yes. Oh man, that's
thinking the same thing.
We've been doing too many podcasts together.
Look,
I don't know who's corrupting who.
Think alike, okay? Also boomers too. So Coomer boomers. Of course, you're going to think of that song. For me, the true answer, it's not who is the best girl, but the best person, and obviously it's Kaoru because he's the only one who ever truly loved Shinji. And you know what? I think Shinji could have been a girl at one point. I kind of think that Shinji was written to be a girl at one point. So actually, canonically, in my headcanon, Shinji's a girl in a past life, and Kaoru is the best boyfriend. So there you go.
Well,
but Shinji's not a girl, so you're taking the speed.
You're literally making a fan fiction
for best girl.
You're writing fan fiction right now.
I think Kaoru's best girl, but as far as like the actual
more
girls
like
go,
spooky Fujo shit.
Oh man, I can't help it. He's a cute boy.
Spooky Fujo trash.
Yeah, for real.
Oh, damn. I do take baths though, so that separates me from.
You're
most
not a stinky
Fujoshis.
I work in Hollywood. I don't take baths.
You're a spooky Fujoshi.
Hey.
Okay, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, did you know that taking baths is actually bad for you?
Dude, I feel like listen. I feel like I started that trend on Twitter where everyone was like making fun of people who don't bathe, like Hollywood elites, because I remembered it all of a sudden because I worked with somebody who was telling me, yeah, people from Hollywood, they stink, they're gross, they're icky. They're like, oh yeah, Jessica Simpson doesn't brush her teeth. People don't wear deodorant. Like I was like, oh, what? And then I just Googled celebs that don't wear deodorant, and I got a comprehensive list from Google. And I posted it on Twitter, and I posted each person, and all of a sudden I see like the next couple days people complaining about how bad celebrities stink. And I was like, yes, I started that. As far as like the actual canon girls though, I don't know, I like Misato. She's pretty good. She's very motherly. She's complicated. She's like fun loving. She obviously has a cute penguin. That's a plus. And I don't know, like people say, like ask if Misato's best girl, but she acts more like a stepmom in the anime in particular, because she's housing like the pilots, right? She even houses Kaoru, I believe, too. So like she's acting almost like a surrogate mother to everyone. But she's like kind of like a cool older stepsister too. Like, oh come on, I drink beer and I like cool shit, radical. She's got a very complicated taste in men. Can relate. So yeah, I don't know. I like Misato, but my favorite character though is Kaoru. So he's actually the best.
That's just your Fujo side coming out.
I can't help it. I like cute anime boys. Come on.
It's like taking Kaoru and Shinji, and you're just slowly putting their heads closer together. You're like, now kiss.
Now kiss. I will say there. I don't know. I don't really like a lot of yaoi or romance anime because I kind of find it really terribly written and cringe. But I like Kaoru's and Shinji's relationship because it's complicated and it's not like full on crush. It's a lot more nuanced than that, and I like that.
I think the best depiction of male relationships with another male is Jonathan Joestar and Robert E.O. Speedwagon. Speedwagon is best girl of JoJo all time, forever.
I mean, it's pretty obvious that the mangaka's really like flaming homosexual, right? So he likes his muscle man and his European fashion. So it was cool that they did like a whole campaign with Gucci, though. That's a canon thing that happened.
My favorite homosexual relationship in media was all the different homosexual relationships in the William Friedkin movie Cruising.
I've never heard of that. What?
Never heard of it.
You never heard of it? All right. Well, I guess maybe we can end the podcast on me describing Cruising. It's about Al Pacino plays as an undercover detective who goes into BDSM gay sex clubs to find a serial killer and has tons and tons of gay sex. The whole movie is just gay leather sex. So, and then a little bit of murder mystery at the end. It was like.
So it was literally just a fetish novel, is what you're saying?
Yeah,
or fetish
it's
movie.
just him walking around these cruising places with all these gay men and, just ramming each other while wearing leather. And then it's like at the end, oh yeah, there's a serial killer I'm supposed to be finding or something.
It sounds like no, you know what it sounds like? It sounds like this this yaoi anime or this yaoi game. You know what it is, right?
Nope.
Fuck, what's it called? It's called Murder something. Do you know Gator off the top of your head?
It's called, not actually.
Fuck, what's it called? I've got to look it up. But it's about this murder that happens, and a lot of gay sex just happens to happen. The main character gets raped, I believe, too. Murder gay anime. Got a blue hair boy. Dramatical murder. So yeah, so it's also similar to that, where it's like
the only
this
game
drama.
I've played that's similar to that is Corpse Party.
Corpse Party is depressing.
It is really fucking depressing.
I don't like Corpse Party. It just makes me sad.
Only reason I played it is because of PewDiePie.
I watched that one guy who got added as a pedo play it, and yeah, what's his name? It's like it was PewDiePie's friend. Who wears a mask. He's got a nice voice.
Was it Cryotic or whatever?
Yeah, Cryotic. Yeah, that dude. It turns out he's a pedo and a fat retard. Oh, oops, can't say that.
No, I think you can say retard.
I say it
Probably, I
on
don't know.
Monkeys is a Kino. Pretty much every episode.
Try to be mindful of that.
You're just not allowed to say it on Twitter.
Yeah,
Oh,
if you say it
yeah.
on Twitter, you get auto-yeeted, which I have found out in the past.
Yeah, me too. You
No
can't
fun
say it
allowed.
twice in one tweet. I got locked out for 12 hours because I said retard twice.
Yeah, that's what happened to me.
Anyway, anything else you'd like to say for
I gotta
tonight, boys? Hot. Anyway.
I'm definitely keeping that in. I'm keeping that moment in there. Not clipping that
I
out.
had to pee pee.
I got to make the wheels.
But yeah.
I don't
Closing
think there's
statement, Skater.
Yeah, I don't think there's a better way to end it than that. I want to thank Kino Corner and Flamenco for joining us to discuss the true end of Evangelion in the Rebuild movies. Kino Corner is youtube.com/the Kino Corner. What are you working on right now? Is there any big projects or anything you want to talk about?
I'm working on 2 videos right now. Well, I've always got a whole bunch of videos that I'm having different stages of production, but right now I'm finishing up a video on Ilan Klimov's film Come and See. I just recorded all this stuff for that, so hopefully that'll be coming out next week. And I'm also writing another video about the movie Falling Down, which stars Michael Douglas. And I can't give any specifics about this, but I'm currently editing a big documentary for The Gamer from Mars at the moment as well. Yeah.
All right. Definitely check that out when it hops up on YouTube. And of course, I want to absolutely thank Flamenco. He's youtube.com/Flamenco TV. Pseudo-intellectual Saturday stream every Saturday. I believe that's 3 p.m. Eastern.
Not every Saturday, but yeah,
But most of
sometimes. Whenever
Whenever Lindsay Ellis opens her fat mouth.
whenever I'm not
Vosh does
feeling
something
exhausted. Ugh. School is exhausting.
Oh, I know that. I woke up this morning at like 6 a.m. to get in some very quick cram session time before my 8 a.m. test. And if I didn't take that 2-hour nap before recording this episode, I would be dead right now. Absolutely dead. So I know how you feel, bud. I know how you feel. And I would be remiss if I didn't shout out my co-host on the Anime Boomer podcast, Spooky Weeb Trash. Take it away, Spooky.
Hi. Anyway.
youtube.com/Spooky Weeb Trash. Thanks, Spooky.
Yeah. And then you can find my friend Spooky Web Trash when she's not being canceled on Twitter. That's twitter.com/ oh yeah, hold on, no, it's at Spooky Web Trash. Sorry, it's SPOKYWEBTRASH.
And on Twitter now, I'm the Falling Kino Corner 3.0 plus 1.0 Thrice Upon a Sallow.
And I'm Spooky Evan Smellian Trash on.
You know, that's something I do want to highlight here because I also have a new Twitter. It's twitter.com/GATORTIME. All 4 of us have been like put under the boot by Jack so many times now.
Because it's so easy to do. You just tell people how you feel and you get
I
fucking
just say
yeeted from Twitter.
retard twice, and then boom.
I called someone Artard. The F slur.
My favorite of one of my friends getting yeeted off of Twitter was Linad. And what happened was it was when Donald Trump got permanently suspended off of Twitter, and he made his whole profile to look like Donald Trump's profile, and then what happened is he got locked out of his account because Pro Jared said had some dumbass retard tweet saying how, oh, he's so glad Donald Trump is off of Twitter. And then Linad replied to him with Pro Jared's dick pics as Donald Trump. and then what happened is he got
He's got the weakest dick pics. They're fucking terrible. Did not fap
They were awful. They were the worst dick pics I've ever seen.
And then he got immediately locked for 12 hours. And then what happened was Twitter started suspending all the accounts that had Donald Trump as their profile picture. So he couldn't go back in and redo it. He was locked out. He couldn't change any of his account stuff. So he had to just watch and like basically see the clock ticking down to when he was going to get suspended. And he did.
Rip Trump as our greatest shit poster.
Our shit poster in chief.
Yeah, now it's the Taliban doing the shit posting. I mean, that just shows you who won the election.
This is the Biden world we live in. Anyway.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening to this podcast. You can find us animeboomers.live. Take you directly to anchor.fm/animeboomers. You can also go to gatortime.live. That'll take you directly to the YouTube channel or youtube.com/thegatorgamer. Of course, follow me on Twitter, my new official GatorTime Media Twitter account, which is twitter.com/GatorTime. You know, unfortunately, had to make a new one of those. You know how that goes. But you guys can also find us patreon.com/thegatorgamer, and you can also sign up for YouTube memberships. They're, I think, like a cent cheaper on YouTube because of the way YouTube like forces you to use only certain things. You can't enter it in manually. But if you go on there and you want to listen to these live, which I think one person actually did sign up to listen to this live, so shout out to Guns Down in Hail for doing that. You will actually be able to listen to these as we're recording them with all of our mistakes and like coughs and sneezes and things that don't get cut out of the podcast.
The end slurs we say.
Right. All of the terrible offensive slurs that we clip out before we re-upload these episodes to YouTube. I think that's it. I have it like in the $10 tier or whatever. But if you want to, listen to it live, you can go there and do that on Patreon or on the YouTube memberships. Also, we're going to start releasing bonus content and like maybe like some quick things, maybe like, 15, 30 minutes here or there talking about like certain breaking issues or just like having a chat with each other. And eventually when we get enough patrons and YouTube members, we're going to have like members nights where maybe we'll like sit in the Discord and like watch an anime together or just like sit around and chit chat or talk about shows that you're interested in and just kind of like ask us questions and shit. So, we're trying to build this into a weeb. I know, some friends of ours don't like the word community, but I'll use it here. Like a weeb anime boomer community or we can drink positive community where we can drink Monster Energy and complain about how anime used to be good back in the days and all the anime nowadays is not as good as it was. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Well, you're going to say something spooky?
Yeah, facts. So just agreeing.
just agreeing. All right. Yeah. This has been the longest outro in the history of outros. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, listening to the show. And as always, we'll see you next time.